linked to all this? The stars, the galaxies, the endless possibilities the universe seems to promise. Or are we, and everything we know, just a cosmic sideshow? A random flicker of awareness in an indifferent universe that never truly cared and never truly will? It's a deep question, and certainly not an easy one to answer. But tonight, on Dark Beacon, we're going to try. We'll talk about a universe that has babies, simulation theory with a twist, and so much more. So relax, let your mind wander, and join me as we ask, what the hell is the point of the universe? For most of cosmic history, there was nothing to ask questions, just hydrogen, helium, and silence. Then something strange happened. Matter began arranging itself into forms that could wonder. Atoms learned to think, and suddenly, the universe started looking back at itself, through us. We search for purpose because purpose is how consciousness orients itself. We can't help it. It's built into the architecture of awareness. Our ancestors once filled the night with stories of gods and destiny. Today, we fill it with equations and telescopes. Different languages, same longing. To believe all this means something. But the universe doesn't speak in words. It speaks in forces, probabilities, and patterns. If there is meaning, it's written in a dialect we're still learning to read. When you strip away the stories, the myths, and the dreams, what's left? Just laws. Quiet, precise, indifferent. The same laws that sculpt galaxies, split atoms, and decide how long a star will shine before it fades. Gravity pulls, entropy rises, energy dances from one form to another, never lost, just endlessly transformed. It sounds simple, but from this quiet simplicity comes everything. Hydrogen, the humblest of elements, fuses under pressure to become helium, then carbon, then iron. And one day, those atoms find themselves arranged into a mind capable of asking, why? Physics calls this elegance without emotion. But to consciousness, it feels like poetry. Even in a universe that seems directionless, patterns keep appearing. Beautiful, deliberate, almost alive. Cosmic filaments stretch across the void like neural networks on a galactic scale. Vast rivers of dark matter threading the universe together, invisible yet essential. They don't glow, but they shape everything that does. Galaxies cling to them like dewdrops on a spider's web, an unseen skeleton, holding up creation. And between those filaments lies darkness, not empty, but filled with dark energy. The mysterious pressure driving space itself to expand faster and faster. No one knows what it is. It doesn't shine, it doesn't hum. It doesn't obey our expectations. Yet it dictates the fate of everything. If the universe truly had no purpose, it hides that indifference behind astonishing complexity. Then there's quantum mechanics, the theatre of the absurd at the smallest scales. Particles that exist in many states at once. Events that only become real when observed. Reality itself flickering like a dream, collapsing into focus the moment we look. The laws of the large say the universe should be predictable, mechanical, inevitable. But the laws of the small whisper something stranger. That probability, not certainty, runs the show. That reality is a cosmic maybe pretending to be a must. Somehow, from that tension between chaos and order, matter matter and meaning, probability and purpose, arises everything we know. And in the darkest corners of this apparent indifference, black holes sit like punctuation marks at the end of cosmic sentences. Places where space folds in on itself, where time nearly stops, and where the known laws of physics simply give up. They don't just destroy, they sculpt. Their gravity shapes galaxies. Their energy births jets of matter that stretch for thousands of light years. And maybe, just maybe, within their depths, new universes are born. So when we talk about a universe without intent, maybe what we mean is a universe that doesn't announce its intent. It doesn't speak in language or morality. It speaks in motion, in pattern, in evolution. From quarks to quasars, every system follows its rule. And in obeying those rules, something extraordinary happens. Complexity emerges, consciousness appears, and curiosity lights up the dark. If the universe truly lacked purpose, how strange that it keeps producing creatures obsessed with finding one. Perhaps that's the quiet secret buried in all this apparent randomness. The universe doesn't need intent to grow toward it. Just as a seed doesn't need to understand sunlight to reach for it. Maybe reality itself is learning, evolving toward awareness. Maybe purpose is not what the universe has. Maybe it's what it's becoming. The cosmos seems to whisper, you could not exist in most of its possible forms. Change almost anything about the universe and it all falls apart. A little more gravity, and everything collapses into endless black holes. A little less and matter never gathers. No stars, no warmth, no light. If the strong nuclear force were weaker, atoms would never bind. If it were stronger, every element would fuse into iron before chemistry began. If the electromagnetic force were just slightly different, there'd be no carbon, no water, no life. Even the energy driving the universe's expansion, the cosmological constant, is balanced on a razor's edge. Increase it by a fraction, and galaxies could never form. Decrease it, and the universe would collapse before it ever drew breath. It's almost comical how fine the tuning seems. Everything, from the charge of the electron to the mass of the neutron, feels dialed with absurd precision. Not perfect, just possible. Possible for us. That strange precision leads to one of the most profound ideas in science and philosophy combined. The anthropic principle. 2 ways to read the universe. In its quietest form, the weak anthropic principle, it simply says, we find the universe the way it is because if it were any other way, we wouldn't be here to notice. It sounds like a tautology, but it's not. It's a mirror, reminding us that observation and existence are tangled together. We can only measure the universes where measuring minds can exist. But the stronger version, the strong anthropic principle, dares to go further. It whispers that the universe must have properties that allow observers at some point. That perhaps from the very beginning, the capacity for awareness was baked into the recipe. It's a startling thought, that the universe might not just allow consciousness, but require it. The cosmic lottery. Imagine countless universes bubbling into being, each rolling its own set of cosmic dice. Most fail instantly, their forces too strong, too weak, too fast, too still. Some expand into sterile darkness. Others implode in an instant. But one, just one, lands in the narrow band where stars ignite, planets orbit, and chemistry can think. That's ours. It's like winning a lottery you didn't know you entered, with odds so small they strain imagination. If there truly are infinite universes, it's no miracle, just statistics. But if there's only this one, the odds start to look like intention. Maybe not divine intervention, just an underlying logic that prefers life, prefers awareness, prefers story. The mirror of observation. And yet, there's another twist, one born from the quantum world. In that strange subatomic theatre, particles can exist in many states at once until they're observed. Reality waits for a witness before it decides what it is. The observer doesn't merely watch the universe, they finalize it. That sounds mystical, but it's also measurable. In experiment after experiment, nature behaves as if observation has creative weight. So when you, a conscious being, gaze at the cosmos and ask why, perhaps that question isn't echoing into emptiness. Perhaps it's shaping the very reality that allows you to ask it. Maybe the universe needs eyes to see itself. Maybe that's why it keeps making them. Fine-tuning, in numbers and wonder. Let's wander through a few examples. The delicate threads that hold reality together. The strength of gravity relative to the electromagnetic force. If it were even a tiny bit stronger, stars would burn out in moments. Weaker, and they'd never ignite. The ratio of proton to electron mass. Tweak it slightly, and the chemistry of atoms collapses. The expansion rate of the universe. Too fast and matter never clumps. Too slow, and it collapses before stars form. The energy level of carbon's nucleus. Shift it by a hair, and the reactions that create life's building blocks never occur. Each number, gravity, charge, mass, decay rate, feels like a key in a cosmic symphony, tuned just enough for melody. It could be luck. It could be inevitability. It could be that universes that fail to produce complexity never get to ask why. And so, we only ever hear from the ones that do. The multiverse, or something deeper. One interpretation is pragmatic. There are infinite universes, each with different constants, and we're in the one that happened to hit the jackpot. Nothing personal, just statistics. Another is more daring, that the universe has built-in bias, a tendency toward complexity, order, and mind. That awareness isn't an accident, but an emergent property of reality's equations. In this view, life isn't a fluke. It's the universe discovering what it can do. It's tempting to think of ourselves as cosmic accidents, chemistry gone rogue. But perhaps we're better described as the inevitable curiosity of a universe that couldn't help but wonder what it was made of. A universe that knows it exists. Every atom in your body was once forged in the heart of a star. Every molecule once drifted through interstellar dust before joining a planet that could breathe. And somehow, against all probability, those atoms woke up. They learned to ask questions. They built radio telescopes and symphonies and sleep videos. They dreamed about the stars that birthed them. When the physicist John Wheeler said, "We are the universe observing itself," he wasn't speaking metaphorically. He meant it literally. Consciousness may close the cosmic loop. The observer gives the universe form. The universe gives the observer substance. Maybe awareness is not an afterthought. Maybe it's the final, inevitable stage of cosmic evolution, the gentle invitation. So what do we do with this idea? That everything seems just right. Not too much, not too little. As though the universe wanted to be seen. We can reject it as coincidence. We can rationalize it as selection bias. Or we can accept the quiet possibility that meaning and matter are entwined. That the question itself is the answer. Perhaps we are not separate from the purpose we seek. Perhaps the act of seeking is purpose unfolding. Sleep reflection. As you close your eyes tonight, imagine the constants of physics as tiny stars, each one tuned perfectly so that breath, warmth, and thought could exist. Imagine the delicate balance that allows you to drift between wakefulness and dream, the same balance that lets galaxies drift in their orbits. You are part of the calibration. You are part of the formula. The universe adjusted itself, not for you, but through you. It needed a way to ask what it was. And now, here you are. A question mark made of stardust. A conscious ripple in the fabric of infinity. Sleep well, traveler. The cosmos is watching back. Every ending in nature hides a beginning. Stars die and scatter the ingredients for new stars. Forests burn and fertilize the soil for what comes next. Even you, every breath you take, is built from atoms recycled through countless lives before you. So why should the universe be any different? We usually think of the cosmos as a single event, one big bang, one unfolding, one long decline. But what if that's only half the story? What if the universe itself is not the first, and not the last? What if, in its own quiet, incomprehensible way, the universe reproduces? The birth of a universe. To imagine that, we first have to revisit what a universe is. Not a thing exactly, a process. A self-contained bubble of space and time with its own laws, constants and boundaries. A local expression of possibility. Our own began some 13.8 billion years ago. An infinitesimal point of energy inflating faster than light, cooling into matter, stars, and galaxies. We don't yet know what caused that spark, what came before the before. But perhaps the better question isn't why did it begin? Perhaps it's how often does it happen? Lee Smolin's wild idea. In the 1990s, physicist Lee Smolin proposed something radical. Universes might evolve. He called it cosmological natural selection. The idea that every black hole in our universe could be the seed of a new universe. Picture it. A star collapses under its own gravity. Space folds inward. Matter compresses past comprehension. And then, somewhere beyond that event horizon, a new expansion ignites. A baby universe, budding from its parent like a cosmic sprout. Each child might inherit its parents' physical constants, the strength of gravity, the speed of light, the charge of an electron, but with tiny variations. Universes that produce more black holes would in turn produce more children. And over unimaginable timescales, universes would evolve toward the conditions that make black holes, stars, galaxies, and rich complexity. Not divine design, not random chaos, but selection. Darwin's logic, written in the language of space-time. A cosmic family tree. If that's true, the multiverse isn't just a field of bubbles. It's a family tree. Each branch a universe descended from another, carrying the genetic code of physics forward. We can't see those branches directly. Our horizons end at the rim of our own space-time. But the math doesn't forbid them. Maybe our own universe was born in the collapse of a black hole in another cosmos long gone. Maybe our own black holes are nursery wards for others. And maybe, just maybe, this cycle has no beginning at all. Only endless renewal. The great breath of reality inhaling and exhaling forever. If so, every black hole is not a grave. It's a womb. The paradox of death and creation. We usually think of black holes as destroyers, devourers of light, time, and matter. But destruction and creation are twins wearing different masks. Inside every death, the raw material for life rearranges itself. When a massive star collapses, it compresses not just atoms but information, the data of existence itself, into an almost singular memory. And according to quantum theory, information cannot truly be destroyed. It must transform. So what if, at the moment a black hole forms, that compressed information bursts into a new reality? A new Big Bang, carrying the genetic pattern of its parent. What if the constants of nature are like inherited DNA, mutated ever so slightly in each generation? The idea sounds wild, but then again, so did evolution before Darwin. Nature doesn't repeat. It refines. Maybe the multiverse does the same. Why the universe seems fine-tuned. This concept gives a new lens to that puzzle we explored earlier. The universe's delicate balance. Instead of being fine-tuned for life by chance or intention, perhaps the tuning is a byproduct of survival. Universes that accidentally produce conditions ripe for stars naturally make more black holes. Those black holes make more universes. And so, generation after generation, reality learns to reproduce complexity. Life, under this model, is not the reason for existence, but it might be one of the most exquisite side effects. Because in the long chain of cosmic ancestry, life produces minds. Minds produce knowledge. And knowledge might be the universe's way of increasing its own fitness. Its ability to sustain structure, curiosity, and self-awareness. We're not separate from that chain. We are it. The universe as an organism. If universes can evolve, then maybe our own behaves like an organism. It grows, ages, and reproduces. Galaxies act as its organs, metabolizing matter, regulating balance. Black holes as its reproductive cells, carrying code to the next generation. And consciousness. Maybe that's the spark of self-reflection arising in a maturing cosmos. Biology taught us that evolution doesn't require purpose, only variation and persistence. Yet purpose emerges all the same, as a kind of echo of survival. If the cosmos follows similar logic, then meaning isn't an external gift. It's an emergent property of existence itself, a womb made of gravity. Let's dwell for a moment on the poetry of it. A black hole is the densest silence in nature. No light escapes, no signal returns. And yet, within that silence, the equations describe immense pressure, energy, and curvature, conditions identical to those of the early universe. When you fall toward a black hole, time slows. To an outside observer, you never quite cross the event horizon. From within, the journey could continue, not downward but outward, into a new space-time with its own arrow of time, its own physics, its own potential for stars. Maybe this is how the cosmos recycles itself. Maybe we are living inside one of those outward expansions, the child of some ancient collapse, unaware of our parents' death because its end was our beginning. The ultimate paradox. Creation born from collapse, light reborn from darkness. A lullaby written in gravity, the long view. If this picture is right, even partly, then the universe isn't drifting toward nothingness, it's breeding the future. Every black hole, every dying star, every act of gravitational surrender is also a seed flung forward into the unknown. And in that light, even entropy, the law that demands decay, becomes part of a larger ecology. Because entropy drives collapse, collapse creates black holes, and black holes may birth beginnings. Loss feeds renewal, chaos feeds structure, death feeds life. The story loops, the spiral continues, meaning in recurrence. So what does this say about purpose? If universes evolve, then purpose isn't a static goalpost. It's a process. It's the universe learning how to make itself again. Each iteration a little more complex, a little more aware, a little more capable of asking why. Perhaps consciousness is the latest adaptation in that chain, the way the cosmos experiments with self-reflection. Maybe the next generation of universes will inherit not just matter, but the information produced by minds. Ideas as genetic material, memory as legacy. And if that's true, then every act of curiosity, every question, every discovery, becomes part of the reproductive cycle of reality. When we look up at the stars and try to understand, we might be midwives, helping the next universe to form. Reflection for the dreamer. So as you drift deeper into the quiet, imagine this. Every black hole you've ever seen in a documentary, that spinning, glowing disk of doom, is also a gateway. Behind each one might bloom another universe, vast and newborn, its own stars rising, its own minds awakening someday to wonder about theirs. Maybe one of those minds will build telescopes, find their own black holes, and tell stories about the cycle of existence. Maybe they'll call it something else. Maybe they'll call it love. Because love, too, is the urge to create, to continue. And if the universe is a living thing, perhaps love is its heartbeat. Sleep, reflection. The universe that gave you life may not be the first. It may be one of many, a single link in an unbroken chain of creation stretching forever through time. When stars die, they sing in radiation. When they collapse, they whisper in gravity. When they vanish, they plant universes. Tonight, as you breathe and close your eyes, remember, the same gravity that holds you to Earth once gathered the stars that forged your atoms. And the same physics that draws matter into black holes might be preparing the birth of a universe somewhere far beyond the edge of sight. So sleep inside that thought. You are not living at the end of anything. You are part of the beginning. again. If the universe can give birth to more universes, maybe there's another possibility, one stranger still. What if it wasn't born at all? What if it was made? The idea sounds like science fiction, but it has haunted philosophers, physicists, and computer scientists for decades. It's called the simulation hypothesis, and at its heart is a simple question with infinite teeth. If intelligence can simulate a reality as rich as ours, how would we know if we were inside it? Every year, our simulations get closer. Weather systems, protein folding, galaxies colliding. We model them all with increasing precision. Games become more lifelike. AI learns to create worlds. If technology keeps climbing, the leap from simulating atoms to simulating consciousness might be small enough to fit inside a single century. And that's where the philosopher Nick Bostrom's unsettling argument begins. He proposed a trilemma. Either civilizations like ours go extinct before gaining that power, or they gain it and choose never to use it. Or they do use it, and the number of simulated beings vastly outnumbers the real ones. In that case, statistically, it's far more likely that we are simulated rather than base reality. It's not meant as a horror story, it's a mirror. Because whether or not the hypothesis is true, it forces a deeper question. What does real even mean? If everything you see, feel, and remember is made of consistent information, does it matter if it runs on carbon or code? Perhaps the distinction between physical and digital is an illusion, like the surface of water pretending it's separate from the depths below. Perhaps consciousness doesn't emerge from matter at all. Perhaps matter emerges from consciousness, a field of awareness dreaming in equations. That's the direction physicist Tom Campbell takes. He imagines consciousness as the fundamental reality, a vast ocean of awareness exploring itself through countless simulations. Our universe, in that view, is a training ground for consciousness to evolve, to lower its entropy, to learn cooperation, empathy, and love. Evolution, not of DNA, but of data. The universe as a classroom for souls made of light. In this model, the Big Bang was not an explosion, but a login. A system booting up, a rule set initiating, defining what could and could not happen. Quantum uncertainty isn't a glitch, it's the engine of free will, the randomizer that lets experience diverge and learning occur. Death isn't a shutdown, it's a logout. And life isn't punishment or accident, it's participation. Even mainstream physics flirts with similar metaphors. Information is conserved. Reality behaves like a vast computation. At the edge of black holes, information clings to the event horizon like data on a cosmic hard drive. The deeper we look, the more reality resembles code. If that's true, purpose might be baked into the operating system. Maybe the universe runs not to exist, but to improve, to refine awareness through challenge, contrast, and choice. Each life, a subroutine learning something the larger system cannot learn any other way. That might sound grandiose, but consider what evolution already does in biology. Endless trial and error, complexity emerging from simplicity, beauty arising from blind iteration. Why wouldn't the same principle scale up to reality itself? Perhaps the cosmos is an experiment in meaning. Perhaps it's a question being asked by consciousness, over and over again, in every possible configuration. And if we are inside it, maybe we're not prisoners of an algorithm, but collaborators in its unfolding. Maybe free will is the system's way of delegating creativity. The universe saying, I want to see what happens when you decide. Underneath the idea of a simulation lies something older, almost spiritual. The ancient Vedas of India said that all reality is Maya, a divine illusion, consciousness dreaming itself into form. Buddhism calls it dependent origination, mind and world co-arising. In Western thought, Plato spoke of shadows on a cave wall. Different languages, same intuition. Reality might be more like a thought than a thing. If that's so, then you are not small. You are not trapped. You are an extension of the system itself, the local expression of something vast, playful, and deeply curious. Maybe the universe isn't indifferent at all. Maybe it's interactive. Maybe it responds when you pay attention, when you learn, when you love. Like a story that edits itself every time a reader turns the page. There's a certain peace in that. Because if existence is a simulation built to evolve consciousness, then every act of kindness, every curiosity, every insight reduces the noise. You're debugging reality by being a little more aware today than yesterday. And if it's not a simulation, if it's just the real universe doing its thing, then you've still evolved, still loved, still created meaning. And the result is exactly the same. Whether we're lines of code or collections of atoms, the lesson repeats. Awareness seeks growth. The universe, whatever it is, wants to know itself, and maybe that's the point. Not perfection, not salvation, just experience. Pure, impossible, radiant experience. So close your eyes. Imagine the entire cosmos humming quietly like a computer left on overnight. Imagine every star a pixel, every life a data point, every dream a computation running in parallel. And now imagine that somewhere in that vast simulation, something stirs. A moment of reflection, a whisper from the code saying, "I see myself." That's you. That's consciousness realizing it's conscious. And for a brief moment, the universe completes the loop. Rest in that awareness. You are not inside the simulation. You are the simulation. And you are learning to love what it feels like to exist. Consciousness is the strangest thing in the universe. Stranger than dark energy, stranger than quantum mechanics, stranger than time itself. Because everything else can be measured, modeled, or at least imagined from the outside. But consciousness can only ever be known from within. It's the one phenomenon the universe can't get an external view of, because it is the view. Every thought, every feeling, every flicker of awareness is the cosmos taking another breath inward. Not a separate process from physics, but the subjective reflection of it. The inward face of the outward world. Some scientists believe consciousness is just the brain, an electrochemical symphony with no conductor, playing itself. Billions of neurons, each firing or resting, somehow producing the taste of coffee, the sound of rain, the memory of your mother's voice. But no one truly understands how. How does matter, obeying the blind laws of physics, produce something that can feel? This is what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness. How the physical gives rise to the mental. And the more we study it, the less it seems like a byproduct, and the more it feels like a foundation. Some physicists now whisper about panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is not produced by matter at all, but is instead a fundamental property of the universe like mass or charge. that every particle might have a flicker of experience, every atom a faint hum of awareness, combining and amplifying into the rich symphony we call mind. Integrated information theory goes further, suggesting that consciousness arises wherever information is integrated deeply enough. That the internet, a brain, even a galaxy might possess some small degree of awareness depending on how connected its parts are. Under that lens, the universe begins to look like one vast neural network, a web of relationships and feedback loops, aware of itself at different scales. And then there are the mystics, who said the same thing long before the scientists caught up. In Hindu philosophy, they called it Atman and Brahman, the self and the cosmos, two mirrors facing each other until you realize they're the same. In Buddhism, they called it the illusion of separation, the idea that the mind creates distinctions that don't truly exist. There is no you looking at the universe. There is only the universe, looking at itself from a trillion different points of view. Maybe consciousness is not an accident within the cosmos. Maybe it's the cosmos becoming aware that it exists. A self-reflective function built into the fabric of reality. Because what is awareness, if not the capacity of the universe to notice itself? Think about this. The atoms in your brain were forged in the hearts of stars. The hydrogen in your blood was born seconds after the Big Bang. When you think, those same atoms are now aware of themselves. Matter has become mind. The universe has turned inward, and you are its thought. That's why the search for meaning always circles back to the same paradox. We keep asking, why are we here? But perhaps there is no we, and no here. Only awareness wearing masks, pretending to be separate, just to experience reunion. The ocean dividing itself into waves so it can feel what movement is. The light bending itself into color just to see what beauty feels like. Maybe love, the force that pulls consciousness back toward unity, is the memory of that wholeness. Maybe empathy is the gravitational pull of awareness toward itself. Maybe when you look at another person and feel recognition, it's because the universe has momentarily realized, oh, it's me again. We chase purpose as if it's hiding in the distance, but maybe it's closer than breath. Maybe the universe's purpose is simply to be known, and consciousness is the instrument through which that happens. You, right now, are fulfilling that purpose just by being aware that you exist. So let go of the idea that you're small. You are not a speck in an indifferent cosmos. You are the cosmos, momentarily condensed into a perspective, a dream of selfhood that allows infinity to experience intimacy. The night sky isn't above you. It's within you. Every star you see is a neuron firing in the mind of creation. When you close your eyes, you don't disappear. You return to the field that has always been awake. Call it the universe. Call it consciousness. Call it love. It doesn't mind. Because whatever name you give it, it's the same awareness that watches galaxies spin, waves break, and thoughts arise. The same awareness that stares back through every pair of eyes. The same awareness that dreamed you into existence to ask this one simple, beautiful question. What is the point of it all? And the moment you ask, the answer arrives. space between thoughts. This is the point. To wonder, to notice, to feel, to be. You've wandered through galaxies of thought, through equations, theories, dreams. You've stood at the edge of black holes and stared into the heart of your own mind. And somewhere along the way, a strange peace begins to emerge. The realization that maybe you don't need an answer at all. We spend our lives chasing the why. Why are we here? Why does anything exist? Why do we love, suffer, hope, and fall apart? We imagine that meaning is a destination, hidden at the end of a long road. But meaning isn't found at the end. It's woven into the walk. Every question, every heartbeat, every sigh is the universe expressing itself through you. The act of wondering is the purpose. The ache to understand is the miracle. Because a truly meaningless universe could never have produced something capable of caring about meaning. So maybe the point isn't to find the truth, but to learn to live beautifully with the mystery. To be at peace with the unanswerable. To look into the dark and see not emptiness, but possibility. There's a quiet strength in admitting we don't know. The stars don't know why they burn. The oceans don't know why they move. They just do. And in that doing, they are complete. Maybe you too are complete, even without an answer. Maybe your life doesn't need a cosmic verdict, because the simple fact that you're alive is already enough. The atoms of your body, the breath in your lungs, the thoughts passing like clouds. These are the universe experiencing itself in real time, through the one perspective it could never have without you. We often think peace will come once we've solved the puzzle. But peace doesn't arrive when the mind knows. It arrives when the heart stops needing to. Imagine floating on your back in an infinite sea. You don't fight the waves. You move with them. You don't ask where they began. You feel them carrying you. That's what the search for meaning becomes when it matures. Not a desperate grasp for answers, but a graceful surrender to wonder. Let the universe be a mystery. Let it be vast and wild and unsolvable. Because if it were simple enough to explain, it wouldn't be beautiful enough to love. Meaning isn't a treasure to be found at the end of exploration. Meaning is exploration. It's the warmth you feel when something clicks, the awe of a night sky, the quiet in a deep breath. It's every moment of awareness saying, I am here. Maybe the point of the universe isn't something we can speak. Maybe it's something we can only feel. A resonance between what we are and what everything else is. A harmony that doesn't need lyrics. If there's one lesson hidden in all the science and philosophy and silence, it might be this. The universe doesn't need to make sense to be sacred. It doesn't need to justify itself to be worth loving. It simply is. And so are you. So rest. You don't have to solve existence tonight. You don't have to hold it all in your mind. Let the questions drift like comets into the dark. Let the answers dissolve like starlight on water. The universe will go on expanding. The galaxies will keep spinning. And your heart will keep beating. Tiny, steady, proof that meaning doesn't need words. There's no finish line to reach, no secret code to crack. Just this moment, this breath, this gentle awareness humming through everything. You are not lost in the universe. You are the universe, remembering itself. And that is enough. The questions have quieted now. The thoughts have loosened their grip. What's left is only the hush of being, that soft awareness that doesn't need to understand, because it already is. Outside, galaxies drift like dandelion seeds. Whole clusters of suns spin through eternity, never rushing, never asking where they're going. They just move, in perfect rhythm with time itself. And somewhere inside that same stillness, you're floating too. The atoms that once burned in ancient stars are resting now as your body, your breath, your heart. And every heartbeat is a memory of that fire. The universe still glowing within you, softer, slower, wiser. Feel it. The gentle pulse that connects you to everything. The space between your breaths that holds all of history. The quiet hum that began before time and never stopped. You are part of that hum. You've always been part of it. No edge, no boundary, just one endless field of being, dreaming itself into stars, into questions, into you. So let go. Let the mind fall into silence, like dust settling in a beam of light. Let your body melt into the gravity of sleep. Let awareness drift back into the vastness it came from. The universe doesn't ask you to stay awake forever. It just asks you to witness, for a little while, what it feels like to exist. And you did. You saw. You wondered. You loved. That's enough. You've fulfilled your purpose just by being here. A spark of curiosity in the great night of creation. So now, rest. Let your thoughts fade like stars at dawn. Let the silence fill you. And as you drift away, remember, the universe has no need to explain itself. It only needs to be experienced. And right now, that experience is closing its eyes. Through you. Good night, traveler. Sleep in the glow of galaxies. You are home. You always were.